just by following one simple thing I suggested. One of my clients lost almost 100 pounds and counting within the time frame of 10 to 11 months. And this is something no one actually really talks about. If you follow the same advice, you could easily lose 5 pounds a month. What's up, guys? My name is Jesse, Dead Center Coaching here. And I wanted to talk to you guys about how my client Fatty lost close to 100 pounds in almost a year. Unlike most coaches, I'm not going to gatekeep anything. I'm going to show you guys the exact process that I've done with him and have replicated time and time again to continuously get all of my clients success, whether it's to lose 5 pounds or to lose 100 pounds. This repeatable system works for almost everybody, so long as you follow the guidelines, you listen, and you track your metrics. So without further ado, I'm going to start from the top and walk you guys through the exact system that I do when it comes from starting with a client to getting them 100 pounds down. So the first thing I normally do with every single client that comes through working with me is I usually send them this pretty in-depth lifestyle questionnaire. So I'm just going to show you guys what this form kind of looks like here. Essentially just gives me a good context of where they're at with things, essentially what a day in the life looks like, what are some of their struggles, what are some of their strengths, some lifestyle habits. And this is going to give me more or less all the information I need to kind of set them up for success within the first, few days, provided they jump on the train right away. This is the first thing I have them do. The second thing I have these clients do is fill out what I call the food list. As you can see here on the screen, this is the food list that Fatty had filled out. Now, it's categorized in 3 columns: the I love it column, the I'm okay with it, and the I don't like it. Now, the reason why this is so crucial is we know that every fitness journey is really dependent on your adherence to the plan. How easily and how willing are you to follow what's been given to you? If you have a hard time following it because it's loaded with a bunch of foods you don't like, well, you're going to set yourself up for failure and you won't last. What I try to do when I create a program for any of my clients, I try to prioritize the foods that they love. So that way we have increased adherence throughout the duration of their program and also the foods that they're okay with. I also allow substitutions and food swaps to keep things generally interesting for the client in question. That way, again, we increase the adherence as much as possible. Once these 2 things have been completed, I then start to create the program. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm only going to dive into the nutrition side of things. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see some breakdowns on how I might do some workout plans, some cardio protocols, or any other useful information that might help you on your fitness journey. Now, with that being said, nutrition. So as you can see here, there is a load of nutrition plans that I've made for Fatty, and I'm going to get into the reason why. But let's go all the way back to the start. So when I first started with Fatty, he was following more of a powerlifting type of workout. He did have like another coach that was taking care of all that, and I was taking care of the nutrition side of things mostly. If we were to go to the first diet that I had for him, regular training day, his calories were around 2100. So 2155, 244 protein, 179 carbs, 50 fat. How did I come up with these? Typically, you can just punch in his information in a macro calculator and it's going to spit out some generic numbers that you can then map a meal plan around. Truth is, had I done that, he would not have been able to consume all the food. 2, it might be a bit of a shock for his metabolism because he'd be going from 2100 calories to close to 3400 calories. It just didn't make sense. Or when you guys are using your macro calculators online, keep this into consideration. So what I did is I kind of took where he was already at and I brought him up slowly. He was probably consuming somewhere around the lines of like 1700 calories, which is very typical for most people that are trying to lose weight. Oftentimes they're told to eat less and move more, when in reality, it's just a recipe to destroy their hormones and increase their stress levels through the roof to the point where they might not even burn anything. And well, the only thing they're burning is themselves, burning themselves out day in and day out, trying to get this weight off so desperately. So what we did is we put the brakes on certain things and I started increasing his food. What that looks like, we went from, let's say here, 2100 calories. A few weeks later, incorporated a medium carb day, October 20th. So now he was following a training day and a medium carb day. And just so you guys have an idea of what the plan actually looks like, take you through a training day. And again, these were based off the foods that he liked, he wanted in his recommendations. So start his morning with some turkey cold cuts, liquid egg whites, carbonate bread, low carb bread, 2 full eggs. Snack, we had apple, rice cakes, peanut butter. Lunch, chicken breast, or he can replace the chicken for any white protein source of his choice. Same quantity, cooked white potatoes, and then he has some options here where he can do pasta or quinoa and mixed vegetables of his choice. Pre-workout meal, so we give him some quick digesting carbs, some pineapple and isolate protein powder, and post-workout is where we wanted to add a little bit more carbs and some extra lean beef. This is where he started. And now, after a few weeks, we incorporated a high carb day so we could try to get his body, a little bit accustomed to more foods. We were incorporating this medium carb day about once a week. And we had done this repeatedly up until, let's say, January, where things started to be a little bit more stagnant. Now, within this portion of time, his weight was coming down. It wasn't coming down tremendously, but his weight was coming down. Pull up the graph here so you can see. Sometimes when the body is under hormonal stresses, it does take time for the weight to come off. So as you can see here, it was coming off very slowly. He was about 275, let's say, and he got down to about 271 within the span of almost 3 months. So from September when we started to about December here where we started to, or January when we started to really adjust the diet. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. Yes, maybe a few more cheat meals, excessively large cheat meals, little ups and downs, inconsistency with the cardios, or sometimes the hormones just need time to regulate to the diet. So, and this is where a lot of people mess up is they'll follow a meal plan for a month and they won't see any results. And then they're going to jump coach. 2 years later, they're in the same exact spot. Why? They didn't give things time to work. He trusted the process. He trusted me. He's seen the work that I've done with other clients. When came December is when things started to get interesting. December, January, as you can see here in the graph, 267. And the weight just kept going down, 255. Then, had a little increase, went to a new low, 252, a little increase. I think this is around the time he went to Vegas, a new low again. He had another trip, then a new low, an increase, then a new low, increase, new low, increase. And now we've been continuously going downwards. So another thing to keep in mind too is weight loss is also not linear. You're not going to start here and consistently drop weight here. There will be some peaks and valleys in here that might mentally think that you've been thrown off track, but that's not really the reality of things. So enjoy the journey. There will be speed bumps along the way, and that's okay. You're going to find ways to navigate them. He never got discouraged. Maybe at times he did, but a few words of encouragement, push him, and then we get back on the wagon. And to show you guys on the nutrition side of things, as you saw progressively how that went, we just try to manipulate the food and try to increase until we see a point of diminishing returns. Then we pull back a little bit. Meal plan 3. So here we tested an increase. 251 protein, 200 carbs, 47 fat, 2245 calories. About 10 days later, another increase. 2373 calories. So you see small increments over time. You don't need to increase by 500 calories. Increase a little bit. About a month later, I think this was his diet when he was on a vacation where I included a cheat meal there. So let's not look at this one because it's not really representative of where he's at. Then I think we hit a speed bump. He wanted to try lowering the calories again, right? So we did that. His body was a bit resistant because I do think this is when we had some of the sticking periods. So we went from 2,300 that we were at, dropped it back down to 1,900, close to 2,000 calories. And at this point, we were doing a little bit of cardio. So we're doing, I think, 30 minutes cardio 4 times a week on the Stairmaster or incline walking. And then you see here, we can start testing the calorie increase again. We were hitting another sticking point. So then I pivoted my methods and we went to a carb cycle. We were doing the carb cycle based on the days that he was exerting himself more in his powerlifting program. It was on a 6-week cycle or 5-week cycle where he was following 3 different plans throughout the cycle. So as the lifts progressively got harder and heavier towards the last weeks, so did his calories get higher. Week 1 to 3, he was around 1,900, kind of where he was at. 2 days out of that week, we gave him the medium carb days, where he was around 2,500 calories. And then the last phase of his workout, when he had the regular training days, it was around 2,600 calories, and his high days were around 2,900 calories. And we had done that for a little while. And then he just decided to get off the powerlifting program altogether and focus more on the bodybuilding style. And this is really when kind of everything started to shine. Everything started together in the right way. And that's when we started to get around here. Training day, new phase 1. After doing all those phases of diets throughout his powerlifting block, we did manage to kind of get him around the 2,600 calorie range while his weight was still progressively decreasing over time. And then from here, we just kept increasing it. So 2,600 calories, 2,700 calories, 3,100 calories, 3,300 calories. And this is the most current one. Now, I know it's a little bit confusing. I really can't dig much deeper into this because every person would be specific to the diet given to them and every individual would react differently. But what it comes down to is a lot of people make the mistake of overstressing their body by putting themselves in too much of a deficit and overdoing the cardio and overdoing the exercise in hope to drive the weight down, when in reality, sometimes what the body needs realistically is to put the foot on the brakes a little bit and to de-stress. How do you do that? Eat a little bit more, but eat strategically. Put the foods around where your workouts are so you're fueling your body properly prior to the workout and after the workout for recovery. Take a step back from all the cardio. This is excessive on your body and you can really burn yourself out. And do something realistic. So with him, we're doing 4 times a week, 30 minutes. Nothing crazy, nothing super, super intense, something he was able to adhere to. And also in the midst of all of this, he was still having his cheat days or cheat meals once a week where he was allowed to go offline, eat whatever he wanted, and he still managed to lose weight. Why? We de-stressed his body. We started to reintroduce foods that he enjoyed, that he was able to adhere to strategically in a way that was placed around his day where his body would optimize the majority of the foods for a given activity or whatnot that he had to go throughout the day. The rest of the foods were catered towards how his activity levels were. So if he was very inactive, he would have lower carbs, higher fats. If he was very active, he would have lower fats, higher carbs, etc., etc. Now, the reason why this worked for him was A, he was listening. B, we de-stressed his body. C, he was not afraid of the scale and he was not afraid of when there was a point where the weight may have been up. He really trusted the process. And C, he trusted me. I'm not saying that you guys need to go and hire me, but what I'm saying is you guys need to try something and stick with it for a good amount of time. You can't start a diet and if you don't lose 30 pounds in 2 weeks, you switch coaches because their method didn't work for you. You'll really know if the method's not working if you don't see any results for an extended period of time. At that point, you can either question your coach or you can go get a blood test because there may be an outlying issue. And on top of all this, something I did forget to mention is the check-in process. Every single week, as you see here, I have 6 pages of check-ins every single week. He's sending me some answers to how his week went, recording his stress levels, his sleep, how much water, etc., metrics that I need. He's recording his weight, he's recording his pictures and his measurement. So I can look at this and compare week to week and then game plan exactly what we need to do the next week moving forward. So if you find you guys in a position where you need help to structure your diet and you don't know where to start, you can follow me on Instagram, give me a DM, or you can book a call from the link below and I'd be more than happy to see how I can help you guys get to your weight loss or muscle building goals.